Well, the design you see here features some dimensioning, and it's towards the bottom of the screen. So it's a concept design for a small space, includes some paths and some symbols. If we pan up, the designers very nicely added some dimensions ready for the construction team. And dimensions are placed in gCADPlus drawings using these symbols up here. Linear dimension, the line dimensions and so on are all here, circle diameter and so on. And they're very simple to use. If we just come over here now and zoom in, if I want to apply a dimension to that line, I just take the dimension tool, and it's a good idea in this case when you're doing some dimensions to leave the O snaps on. I have to pick them here, and I can move the dimension up, and it takes it being the dimension, takes the dimension from the object itself. So it's a really good check of your underlying design work. And you can apply dimensions in an angular sense, so that would come over here and do exactly the same thing. Specify the first extension line, so I'd be running those snaps on all the time to save me having to do it. Notice how you can move the dimension along and center it in the position you want. Now, the text height, the type of marker at the end is all controlled by the dimension style that you're using. And if we go to dimensions and dimension styles, this is the box where you can set different styles, add new ones and so on. So we're using at the moment a style called standard. So our text height is 100 units, the geometry is set, we're using an architectural tick mark and so on. So let's cancel from there. But you can see, I hope, that you can have other dimension styles running, and they can be useful, as I hope to show you in a moment. But one of the things to watch out for is try not to have dimensions themselves crossing one another. So if we pick this angular dimension, we could move the bottom of the dimension, the first point there, and move it out of the way, but that will be tricky. The easiest way to do this is to select this dimension, and I'll move that marker up. Now, beginners are often fearful that we'll change the length of the dimension. That's 5450. If you put polar on, or ortho, but polar I think is a little easier, that number won't change as I move the dimension location point up here, like so. It's still reading 5450. It's important, I think, not to use text overrides and change things. But can you see now we can still read the design, but the dimension lines themselves don't overlap. If we come down here, you might notice that I think the architectural dimension really clutters things up when we're looking at the section. And what you can do is swing to a different dimension style. So if we go into dimensions and look at dimension styles and the list, if we pick standard small, I've made a new one, and my text height is smaller at 100 units. The geometry is, the arrowhead size is smaller, and we're going to a closed fill rather than that architectural tick mark. So we'll cancel from there. And so we could easily use the modify match properties tools and just pick this one, which I've done, and we just click like so. So we can move through and change our dimension. Now we're just using arrowheads. You still might want to increase those in size. So it's very easy once that's done to go into dimension styles, go to the list, make sure you've selected the small one in this case, and what we want to do is just increase our arrow size a little. We'll make it 75 for you so you can see the effect, and there we are. Immediately we get the answer. So we can change all sorts of things in the dimension style. So I hope that helps just a little dealing with the use of dimensions and dimension styles in the gCADPlus environment. We could use that same match properties here and just pick that one and there, and we've moved it to the correct layer. And it is a very good practice, as has been done here, to put all your dimensions on one layer. D-dim's been used